Thanks for joining me. Before we get to the story of Sarah and the Raven, I thought you might enjoy seeing a few scenes of the preparation of the piece. We start with the stone wall, and each of the pieces of the stone wall get put in place one piece at a time. And eventually we get ourselves a stone wall that looks pretty good. It will support both the Raven and Sarah reading a book. Now, as we get along, we start to develop the body of the Raven. We create a couple of pinch pots. They go together, and then it's rolled to start to shape the bird's body. And then from there, the head and the legs and the beak and everything start to be put in place and carved appropriately. The Raven is carved by large part upside down so that we take the pressure off the legs and the beak. The legs are positioned to make sure that they'll fit on the stone wall, and it looks like they're going to be fine. Sarah's body is put in position again to make sure that everything is going to be where it should be. Then her legs start to get put in place, and then we have a look at the arms, and eventually we put the head on as well to make sure that it's going to be the right size for when we start to sculpt the face. The details, such as the shoes and shoelaces, are done, and bit by bit Sarah starts to take shape. We put a little underglaze on to just give ourselves a sense of the color. The book is put in place with her hands, and she's starting to look pretty good. The Raven is positioned just to make sure that everything's going to fit. We have a cover for the book that she's reading. It's called Being Good. And the back cover shows the author and a little bit about this rather fun-looking guy. The inside spread is also put in place, and that becomes the text of Being Good. Here's the author. He's kind of a cute guy, isn't he? Of course, Sarah and the Raven are bisqued, and then they are glazed. And the finished product is starting to look pretty darn good. Even the detail of the Raven's top hat is given some attention as well. Now, along with all of this, of course, there's a little book that goes with the sculpture, and it's the story of Sarah and the Raven. And that will accompany the piece for whoever the lucky purchaser is. Let's listen to the story of Being Good. When Sarah was a toddler, her family rescued a young raven. Over the weeks, turning into months, they nurtured the bird, and eventually it was able to venture out on its own. They called him Jack, nicknamed Blackjack. He was very large and beautifully black, to the point of being iridescent in the sunshine. As time went by, Jack spent more and more time discovering the region of Netherthong in West Yorkshire, England. It is a place of wonderful green areas, rolling hills, and great expanses, perfect for an avian explorer. Jack had a very mischievous streak in him. He loved visiting homes and estates, and should no one be about, he would treat himself to any shiny object that might be lying about. His collection was growing. An earring or two, a petite lady's watch, pieces of silver foil, and even a bright red whistle were in his collection. A scallywag of a bird, to be sure. But despite his somewhat criminal ways, he was still the closest companion of his dear friend Sarah. He loved following her about, including the quiet times that they spent at Sarah's favorite reading spot, an old stone wall overlooking the Holme Valley. Sarah, 6, almost 7, loved to read there. It was quiet, and it afforded a marvelous view of the valley. On sunny days, she would take time to escape and enjoy her plein air reading. She loved it when Jack joined her. She could hear his call and knew that he had spotted her from high above. He would alight in a flurry of feathers. He was a bit of a show-off. And then he'd jump to her side. This particular day in June, Sarah was ready and waiting for Jack. And sure enough, he swooped in. Feathers flared in all directions. Sarah looked at Blackjack and said to him, "Jack, I'm reading a book called Being Good. It says that we can start the road to being good if we think of others, feel compassion for them, and put their needs before our own. This leads to greater kindness and giving and a better understanding that we are all on this road together. You see, Jack, stealing shiny, colorful objects is hurtful to others. It's not being good, and I know that you don't mean to be that kind of a bird." Jack, like most ravens, is a very intelligent fellow, and he thought about what Sarah had to say. He thought long and hard, and after some time he decided that, yes, he would be a good bird. Thus, today, Blackjack is much loved by many. People report of Jack leaving little gifts of berries, flowers, and objects they had lost, and that makes them very happy.